Okay, we are here with Jesse White, the Democratic incumbent candidate for Secretary of State. We appreciate you being here today and invite you to start by providing an opening statement as to why voters should give you another term in office.
It's an honor for me to be here with you today. I'm Jesse White, Illinois Secretary of State. I've had the great pleasure of serving the people of the state of Illinois for the past 19 years. I started my career as a lawmaker, represented probably the most diverse district in the nation, Lincoln Park to Paul River, North Street of Ville, the Gold Coast area, the Magnificent Mile, and Cabrini Green for a period of 16 years. And then 6 years as a Cook County Recorder of Deeds, the second largest Recorder of Deeds office in the nation. 19 years running the largest Secretary of State office in the nation. 10 years of professional baseball for the Chicago Cub organization, and I like the Cubs, Cardinals, and White Sox, and not necessarily in that order. And then 33 years as a teacher, and 10 years in the military. I served as a paratrooper guardsman and reservist. I used to jump out of perfect good airplanes, 35 jumps to my credit. And now I'm here before you today seeking your prestigious endorsement. I believe that when you commit yourself to a job, I believe that you should see it from its beginning to its conclusion. And my mission as a Secretary of State is to help make the roads of Illinois the safest ever. And as indicated before, running the largest Secretary of State office in the United States. And I come before you seeking your prestigious endorsement.
Okay, thank you.
So before we delve into some of the issues, I'd like to understand a little bit more about how you came to be a Democrat.
I was born in Alton, Illinois, and moved to Chicago, and moved to the near north side of the city of Chicago. And I was in a ward that was led by George Dunn, the former president of the Cook County Board. He is the longest serving, or was the longest serving, president of the county board. He was also the ward committeeman of the 42nd Ward. And one day he asked me to consider running for state representative. And I said that I enjoy knocking on doors, circulating petitions, and supporting the Democratic agenda. And so he said, Robert Thompson, our state representative, is retiring to Cassopolis, Michigan, and we look forward to having you as our state representative. And I used to go to Schuss Mountain up in Mansalona, Michigan every weekend. I used to go down this hill skiing, and I was unsuccessful over a period of about 15 years. And as it turned out, I went down this hill 12 times without falling. And I came back and I called him and I said, Mr. President, I'd like to take on the challenge of running for state representative. And so he said, I'm glad to have you on board. So I asked him, what does the district consist of? He said, Lincoln Park to Paul River, North Street of Ville, the Gold Coast area, the Magnificent Mile. And I asked him the racial makeup of the district. He said, it's 83% white, 12% black, 5% others. And I said, that's like two strikes against me and a curveball coming up. So he said, you do quite well. And so I served for 16 years in that capacity. So I've been a Democrat all my life. And same thing holds true with my family.
So what are a couple of principles then that, as a lifelong Democrat, that you've demonstrated in the work in both the legislature and as Secretary of State and all?
Well, I believe in commitment to duty. As indicated before, I served in the military not once, not twice, but 3 times. And I believe that when you take on a job, you should take on a responsibility that goes with it. I like to be on time. I like to discharge my duties to the best of my ability. And every day I work toward that end. And so serving as the Illinois Secretary of State, running the largest Secretary of State office in the nation, I think I've been true to the principles of making sure that every day I'm at my duty station, discharging my duties to the best of my ability. On behalf of all of the people of the state of Illinois, even though I'm a Democrat, I'm concerned about providing the services to the people of the state of Illinois that they richly need and deserve. And I want to make sure we deliver those services in a timely manner and in a highly professional way.
Thank you.
So what do you feel have been your greatest accomplishments while serving as Secretary of State for Illinois?
Several. Number one, the organ and tissue donor program. My brother was a pharmacist at the Lakeside VA Hospital, wasn't feeling well, and we took him to the University of Illinois Hospital, and while he was lying in a comatose state, member from the Regional Organ Bank asked me, if your brother happens to pass away, can we use his organs for transplantation purposes? And I said, no, don't bother him, don't bother us, leave us alone. When he passed away that night, and 2 days later, we buried him. And I didn't think any more of the organ and tissue donor program until 2 years later. My sister became ill, was in dire need of a kidney that was not a match within the family. She put her name on the organ and tissue donor list, and as it turned out, she got a second chance at life. And she passed away about 3 months ago, and she received 27 additional years of life because of the generosity of someone else. And so someone asked, I know you are going to become the new Secretary of State. Do you know anything about the organ and tissue donor program, which will come under your jurisdiction? I said, yes, I've been there, done that, know that, and I'm going to do all I can every day to encourage individuals to sign up, become a part of this meaningful program. And then with our young people, the GDL, the Graduated Driver's License Program, where we have, when I came on board in Tazewell County, 15, 16-year-olds had lost their lives every month, one a month, because they had not received the training and the experience they needed in order to navigate on our roads. And so I convened the best and the brightest, the sharpest knives in the drawer, people who know a lot about highway safety. And we formulated a committee, and we conducted some hearings across the state of Illinois. And as a result of requiring our young people to spend 50 hours behind the wheel with their parents, 10 of those hours would be done at night. And one unrelated individual in the car with you for a 1 year period of time, because we realized that when you have a lot of your friends in the car, it creates a distraction for our young drivers. And based on all, and then we have those 3 seasons, the fall, winter, and spring months, where we require these young people to drive. And then, of course, based on all that I've said, there has been a 51% reduction in the loss of lives at the hands of teen drivers. And then the BAID device, B-A-I-I-D, breath alcohol inhalation interlock device, where individuals who get a DUI and they are asked to put the BAID device within their automobile, and based on the fact that you have to blow into the tube if alcohol is detected, then as you're driving along, there will be a series of beeps that will indicate that you now have to blow back in it again. And based on that program, there's been a 50% reduction in loss of lives at the hands of individuals who have a history of drinking and driving. And our roads are a lot safer as a result of this program.
You've mentioned several times you've been in office since 1999. You're seeking a 6th term, and you've talked about discharging your duties. What do you have left to accomplish that you haven't done in 5 terms already?
Well, we've had some problems with our insurance program, where individuals here in Illinois are required to have automobile insurance. And sometimes they will manufacture their own document, go before the judge, and they will present it, indicating that they are part of the system. We do a monitoring program, or better yet, we send out to individuals a survey letting us know that they have automobile insurance. They give us the insurance company, the date, the expiration date of the policy. And based on some of the problems that we've had within that system, we now are going to go into a better system by which there's truth in testing, there's truth in information, and so now we'll be able to be assured of the fact that the individual truly have insurance. And then, of course, customer service is one of the things that we want to continue to do. There's a lot more to be done in that area. When you go to our Secretary of State's office, we don't want you to bring your duffel bag, sleeping bag, or your lunch pail. We want to make sure that we get you in and out in a timely manner and treat you in a highly professional way. When I became the Secretary of State, a lot of the employees were required to buy fundraising tickets, sell fundraising tickets, and do political work. And I put a ban on that practice. I had a fundraising event here in Springfield, and only a handful of my employees showed up because they said, well, I've never heard of the Secretary of State having a fundraising event not requiring the employees to participate. Well, the second time I had a fundraising event, I think we probably had about 900 people to show up, and then later on, over 1,000 of my employees showed up, and they realized that they did not have to buy fundraising tickets, and if by chance a family member were to give us a check, we would return that check to them. And so you could survey my employees, and they'll tell you that not once have they ever had to buy a fundraising ticket, sell a fundraising ticket, or do political work under this administration. So I want to make sure that the services that the people of the state of Illinois richly need, deserve, are put forth, and every day we work toward that end. And as I indicated before, we're working hard to make sure that the roads of Illinois are the safest ever, and every day we work toward that as well.
You have twice said you would not seek another term in this office, and then each time you've reversed course and run for another term. So what led to those decisions?
I received requests from BAID, that's in BAID, MAD,
Okay.
Mothers Against Drunk Driving, AIM, the people from the organ donor community, people who have enjoyed the services that were rendered by this office, and a lot of friends, organizations have said that they don't want the clock to be turned back, whereby they will have to undergo the unfair treatment that they once had to endure prior to me becoming the Secretary of State. And based on those many, many emails, telephone calls, letters, asking me to continue, I said I will do it one more time, and that will be it. So we can take it to the bank. This is it.
Okay. So if elected, would you serve out the full 4-year term?
I indicated that I used to jump out of airplanes, and you don't jump out of an airplane and and stop halfway. It's all the way. And so that's my answer to you. It's all the way.
Okay.
And my opponent said that I would, after 1 year, would step down, and Mike Madigan would make the replacement for me. But first of all, I have no intention of stepping down. Mike Madigan does not have the authority to appoint. That's left in the hands of the governor.
Okay. Trust is something the public needs to have in its elected officials. So should the public trust you when you say this will be your last term, when you've said that twice already?
Well, there have been a lot of other things that I've done where my word has been good. And so this is the only thing that's on my record that is questionable, and I want to take the question out of the equation. This is it.
Okay. Are you in favor of term limits?
Every election is term limits.
Okay.
I think if you're doing a good enough job and the people come out and support you year after year after year, or during every election, that would indicate whether they like you or dislike you. And based on what I've been able to do, my entire history in government and in office has spoken favorably to that.
Okay. Earlier this week, voting rights advocates and 3 Democratic state representatives said you have failed to properly fully implement automatic voter registration in time for the November election. These groups say some of the changes have been made, but some have not. Specifically, I think the ability to opt out is not in place, is what I read from them. And that's a key part of this legislation. So tell us, what is the status of the implementation of this law?
Well, as of 2019, everything will be in place. But the bottom line is this, that there is an opportunity for individuals who are not citizens to vote. So that means that they put themselves in a posture by which they can become deported. So automatic in, and of course automatic deportation.
So what part remains to be implemented? Is it that opt-out part?
Well, later on, as of 2019, you will get the real document. I don't know if you've ever seen the new ID.
The real ID?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, there are about 25 features in it that really will carry the day, that will allow an individual, of course, to get on an airplane. I think I have mine too.
Okay.
And these features, this is a sophisticated document. It's one of the finest documents ever devised by a man or woman. And it's made here in Springfield, out on the northeast part of the city. The 2019, everything will be in place to allow individuals to get involved with this program, or you can use your passport. Your passport is your safety net. That's the key. If you already have a passport, then you won't need this document.
Okay, but is Real ID tied to automatic voter registration implementation?
In a way, yes.
Okay, can you explain that? I guess I'm not clear on how those two are connected.
The two are connected in that you have to have the signature, you have to have all of the identification that is required to get a license. And of course, that information has to be then become a part of the the Real ID.
Could we back up on the automatic voter ID? You mentioned, if I heard you correctly, that the possibility of a non-citizen being put in a position to vote.
Sure. So,
How can your office guard against that? Or are you saying there's no way for you to prevent that?
we have a program by which you can indicate whether you are a citizen or not. And if by chance you check the box saying I'm a citizen, then you vote, then you put yourself in a box by which you can become deported.
Right, we've got the case with the priest in Alton right now, but is there any way, so are you saying your office can't verify the citizenship as part of the automatic voting?
We cannot, they will check the box.
Mm-hmm.
And then, of course, when they vote, then they put themselves in a posture by which they can become deported if they're not a citizen.
So do you disagree with the voting rights advocates, their assessment that they made earlier this week? I mean, they held that press conference, they were talking about...
They probably didn't realize that the bottom line is that automatic in and automatic deportation.
Okay.
That's key. If you vote, you're not supposed to vote, then of course you become a part of the Exodus program.
Okay.
And that's one of the things we want to guard against.
Okay. And so both the automatic voter registration and the Real ID Act, those will be in compliance by 2019, both
That's
of
right.
them?
That's right.
Okay.
What has been the delay with Real ID? Because if I'm not mistaken, I think Illinois is one of the few states that is still not completely...
Well, first of all, it's an unfunded mandate. That's and then the Illinois General Assembly didn't support the bill when it came before them. And now they're on board with it, and now we're playing a game called catch-up.
What session was that where they didn't support the bill?
What was that, a couple of years ago?
Yeah, it was, I can look that up.
Okay, thank you.
Okay.
And then we also had to find the resources to implement the program as well.
Okay.
Considering the fact that we had budgetary problems with the General Assembly.
Right.
You would ask me to give them the letter to the Sun-Times?
Oh, yeah.
About automatic voting?
Yes.
Okay.
Just give me this.
I'll make copies for the rest of the board. Thank you. Okay.
Am I able to make one comment, is that all right, or just to build off on one thing he said, or is that not?
If you'd like.
I just wanted to, everything Secretary White said was correct. I just wanted to highlight that with Real ID, you'll be required to bring in, the federal government requires you to bring a certified copy of your birth certificate.
Okay.
So that proves.
And the signature that you have on your driver's license, that too will carry the day. And then that document that I showed you a few moments ago, the driver's license, that's probably one of the most sophisticated documents you'll find anywhere.
Okay.
Would have a lot of bells and whistles in
Right,
it.
you've added some security measures
Oh, sure.
to it.
Probably one of the most sophisticated documents you'll ever see.
Okay.
But as I said before, you can either use your passport or you can use that document to get on an airplane.
Okay, and until the Real ID is up, Illinois residents, we can still use our driver's licenses for airplanes and all those
Yes, you
things
can
like
use it
that.
now, and then you can also use your passport.
Okay,
Passport, always, that's your safety net.
okay, all right. I was looking at a compliance examination for the 2 years that ended in June 2017 that found weaknesses in the Secretary of State's office when it came to being PCI compliant. That, of course, deals with the security of credit card information. So that was more than a year ago. Is the office now PCI compliant?
TCI.
PCI, the credit card.
Oh.
The credit when you give your credit card information.
No one has, none of those documents have been compromised.
Okay.
And no one has lost a dime, and no one has circumvented the system. None whatsoever.
Okay. But even if there weren't any actual cases, the audit, have these issues that were raised been addressed?
Yes.
Okay.
I think my opponent raised that issue, but based on, and then may have been a part of the audit, but we're on board.
Okay. Okay. The state's finances in general are, to put it mildly, in rough shape. What steps have you taken to control spending in your office while Secretary of State?
Well, first of all, I have fewer employees than I inherited, by about 500 fewer employees. And we cut back on the use of automobiles. We have done a lot in terms of reduced staff and reduced spending, reduced the use of automobiles and travel.
Okay.
There are others, but those are the basic ones.
How have you been able to do that and still maintain, good customer service?
Well, we've been able to do what is required, and that is to make sure those services that the people richly need and deserve go forward. And sure, we just had to tighten that belt and make sure that we continue to function on behalf of the people of the state of Illinois.
Were there certain areas?
Yeah, I told you about automobiles. That was a lot of the employees would use the automobiles and go from place to place. And then, of course, we also had the problem of notifying individuals about the renewal of the sticker.
Right.
And that was costing the state of Illinois about $450,000 a month. Most states don't notify individuals that it's time for them to renew. It's up to the individual. For example, we don't notify you about your driver's license, your license plates, but we notify you about your sticker.
Right.
So so what we've done is this. We now allow you and ask you to give us your email address when you get your sticker. In this way, we don't have to notify you by way of the use of taxpayer dollars. We do it by way of email. It's cheaper. Stamps.
Right, but I thought you had resumed that program after it had been suspended.
We have, but it's not fully implemented because we have to send the notice out to some people, and some are already a part of our email system, so we notify them by email, which doesn't cost us hardly anything.
Mhm.
That's how we
So,
save money.
Do you know how many people are still opting for the,
I don't have the
fill-out
exact,
renewals or
I don't,
what?
it's significant.
Yeah,
But I don't have the
I'm
exact
curious,
number.
because you mentioned it's a saving. It was
Can we
a
get back to you on
savings.
that?
Yeah.
Yeah.
But walk us through your thinking, because as you mentioned, it was a savings, to suspend the mailings. And I believe, our editorial board actually editorialized that, in times of budget crisis, maybe it was a time for citizens of Illinois to take some personal responsibility and, write it on their calendar. So why did you decide to re-implement?
Well, we got some money from the General Assembly, and we implemented the program because of demand. But then we decided to double down. We said, well, let's save some dollars. Let's have these individuals leave their email address so we can notify them by email, which is a lot cheaper than the dollars that we need in order to send out the license plates and other documents within the office.
While we're on this topic, are there, what types of technological efficiencies would you like to further bring to the Secretary of State's office?
Well, I talked about the insurance piece, and we use technology within the office to transact business within the office of the Secretary of State. And based on the fact that people are using our office, I think about 500,000 dollars have been saved or something like that because of the use of technology within the office. So instead of people coming into our office, they use our system.
Okay.
www.cyberdriveillinois.com.
We mentioned earlier, you mentioned some traffic safety laws that you've championed, the teen safety with the graduated driver's license program, DUI legislation. What else would you like to see done in the area of traffic safety?
Well, there's a problem that we're having with regard to individuals who use drugs. Now, with the Bay device, we can detect the use of alcohol. We conducted some hearings in Chicago to prepare ourselves for the use of cannabis. If you have recreational marijuana, we want to be able to detect that. We want to help law enforcement do their job and do it well, because, as indicated before, we want the state, we want the roads of Illinois to be the safest ever.
So do you support the legalization of recreational marijuana?
No.
And that's because of the traffic safety implications?
I'm concerned about the people who are on our roads. I'm concerned about our young people who get from point A to point B. We want them to live a long and productive life. We have our young people who attend our schools. And just the other day, a man was under the influence, ran into a school bus and injured some kids. I'm concerned about our future. These are young people going to help run this great country of ours one day. We want to put them in a posture by which that can occur, and we want them to live a long and productive life.
On traffic safety, one of the huge issues out there is distracted driving, especially with cell phones, texting. Are there measures you would support to try to crack down on that? even
Well,
further?
I was the author of the bill that says that you could not text and drive in school zones and construction zones, and then later on I supported a bill that put a ban on the use of talking on your cell phone. I'm still in favor of those two measures because that's a part of the distraction process, which causes unbelievable accidents and injuries and deaths at the hands of the person who has become distracted. And so any form of distraction, I am against.
Are existing laws strong enough, or does more need to be done? Or is it an
We-
enforcement issue?
The laws that we have, well, let me tell you one of the things that we also did too, and that is if an individual is involved with an automobile accident, the authorities can now go back to that person's cell phone to find out what they were doing at the time of the accident, which means that now it's called gotcha.
So when it comes to technology, there's been just an awful lot in the last year, especially about self-driving vehicles. And it looks like maybe over-the-road trucks may be some of the first ones to be able to do that. Any thought you've given to that?
I've been shaking in my boots.
Yeah.
I'm concerned about automation is the thing of the future. But when I think about and read about and see where some of these cars that have the automation within them, self-driving, same thing holds true with the trucks. I would want to do a little wait and see on that, on some of that.
And
I want to make sure that technology is at the height of the use of these vehicles.
And those perfectly good airplanes that you've jumped out of often use automated pilots after they're airborne, right?
Well, they always had a pilot, and I did 35 jumps out of perfect good airplanes. You never worry about the jump. It's always a sudden stop.
Yeah. Okay.
The Secretary of State's office also does a lot of record keeping. How have you ensured the office is run in a transparent manner and that the public has access to public documents?
Well, first of all, I have a tremendous record-keeping operation, and so far it's been done quite well. We've been able to provide those services that the people richly need and deserve, made sure that the information that they should gain access to is available to them, and we're quite proud of that, and we're looking at other ways by which we can move forward to deliver those meaningful services.
One of the departments the Secretary of State oversees is the State Library. Libraries are considered the great equalizer in our society, but given the push toward digital technology, are there any changes you would make in how the State Library serves the public?
There's always room for change. There's always room for improvement. Our library system is probably one of the best systems in the country. I have 5,000 libraries that come into my jurisdiction. I've had the great pleasure of visiting about 2,700 of them. And one particular thing that we do, we have a grant that we give to all of the libraries, but the one that I'm really concerned, that I really like, is the construction grant, where if by chance your boiler happens to go out, the roof happens to blow off, or you want to make the library handicap accessible, you want to develop an area for children, or whatever the case may be, the library will come up with half of the money and we will give them the other half. And we've been able to save a lot of libraries that way and make them more usable. Libraries are used more now than ever before, and it's important for us to make sure that we give them the resources that they need in order to become and remain viable.
So are those general revenue funds?
Yes.
They are. They're not federal
No.
funds? Okay.
Okay. Anything else? Anyone? Angie? Okay, well, we thank you for meeting with us today and invite you to give a brief closing statement as to why you think voters should give you another term in this office.
Well, I want to thank you for allowing me to come before you today. I've served in office for over 40 years, and not once has anyone ever questioned my integrity, my commitment to duty. As I indicated before, my military experience has taught me to be at my duty station every day on time, discharging my duties to the best of my ability, and every day I work toward that end. And so I'm come before you today seeking your prestigious endorsement because based on my experience and my commitment to duty, that I think I'm the best qualified to continue to run the office of the Secretary of State. I believe that when you take on a job, you should take on a responsibility that goes with it. And I believe that the people of Illinois have been served well by me. I'd like to continue, and I seek your prestigious endorsement.